Hollywood actor, Jeff was hiding something terrible. He would get panic attacks before filming scenes. He would hide in garages to stay away from his dad. Even now at 75, his heart beats 148 times per minute while filming, which was faster than when he had cancer. Recently, he finally told everyone the truth at a big award show. What he said shocked everyone. His confession explains why he almost quit acting many times and why being famous never felt right. Jeffrey Leon Bridges was born on December 4, 1949. His parents were actors, so instead of soft lullabies and baby blankets, Jeff's early days were filled with movie lights and loud set noises. When he was just 6 months old, his parents took him to a movie set. The movie was called The Company She Keeps, and it came out in January 1951. The director needed a real crying baby for one scene, so Jane Greer pinched baby Jeff a little bit, and he cried right when they needed him to. The scene was perfect. On the studio paperwork, his name wasn't even written down. He was just called Crying Baby. Later in life, Jeff joked that his first paycheck probably went straight to diapers and baby milk, but without knowing it, his Hollywood journey had already started before he could say his first word. As he got older, Jeff's dad, Lloyd Bridges, had mixed feelings about show business. He was famous, especially after a movie called High Noon, but he didn't fully trust Hollywood. Around 1957 or 1958, he sat Jeff and his older brother, bowed down and told them something surprising. He said most actors made less than $5,000 a year. He even had printed numbers to prove it. So, he told them to focus on school. No acting jobs, unless their grades were higher than a B+. He even suggested they think about becoming engineers instead of actors. That rule stayed in the house for years, and it made Jeff think twice about fame. It planted a quiet fear that maybe acting wasn't stable enough. When Jeff was 13, something changed. He didn't want to be known just as Lloyd's son. So, in 1963, he took a marker and wrote, "Not an actor," on his bedroom door. He started painting at Brentwood Art Center and made his first $35 by selling a painting on August 9, 1964. Also started a surf rock band called the Nozzles and played at small fairs in Santa Monica. His older brother Burr was learning acting scripts, but Jeff was learning guitar chords and painting techniques. His high school art trophies from 1966 still sit in his studio today. For Jeff, this wasn't just a phase, it was a message. He didn't want to follow a path just because it was easy. He wanted to find something real on his own. But the 1960s in Los Angeles weren't just about art and music. There were parties and drugs. By age 16, Jeff was smoking marijuana before math class. In the summer of 1967, he was trying LSD at music sessions up in Topanga Canyon. One night on September 3rd, police stopped him. They found a marijuana cigarette in his Volkswagen Beetle. He was under 18, so they called his dad instead of arresting him. But it scared the family. Dorothy Bridges, his mother, made him start weekly counseling. Lloyd personally drove him to 2 rehab meetings that October in Malibu. Jeff later said it felt like he was about to miss the exit ramp in life. It was the first big wake-up call. Lectures weren't working, so Lloyd tried something different. One morning in early 1968, over breakfast, he said something clever. He told Jeff that acting could be a way to do everything: fly jets, play music, paint without needing to join the military or a band. Just one job, endless lives. That idea stuck with Jeff. It made acting sound like freedom, not a trap. Soon after, Jeff took a small acting role on his dad's show, Sea Hunt. He partly did it just to buy a new Stratocaster guitar. Lloyd's quiet trick had worked. Jeff was in, but the promise of acting as freedom stuck with him for life. Even so, he didn't rush into Hollywood full-time. On May 12, 1967, at just 17, Jeff walked into a military office and signed up for the Coast Guard Reserve. The commitment lasted 8 years. It kept him out of the Vietnam War, but also slowed down his movie career. He worked weekends cleaning rust-off buoys and pulling midnight shifts. He later said it was torture. Still, the schedule left him with enough time to act during breaks. That's when he filmed The Last Picture Show in 1971 and Thunderbolt and Lightfoot in 1974. Both got him Oscar nominations. He wore his uniform and chased awards at the same time. In 1975, he finally left the Coast Guard. By coincidence, that was also the year America ended the draft. Back in 1967, Jeff had also taken a Greyhound bus to New York to study at Herbert Berghoff's studio. The school was known for tough acting lessons, but Jeff didn't care much for that. He was more excited by the music clubs and street art. He brought his panoramic camera and spent time taking photos in subways and talking with musicians and painters. He skipped rehearsals to sneak into open mic nights at Café War, only stayed a few months before returning home. But even that short time gave him a line he could tell his parents whenever they asked if he was serious about acting. Even after earning an Oscar nomination, Jeff almost walked away. In 1972, he bought a Malibu beach house and rented a Venice studio, not to work on movies, but to make music and paint ocean scenes. No record deal, no gallery goal. He just wanted space, a break. He told his dad he might skip the next few movies. Then suddenly, great roles started showing up. That break didn't last long. By 1973, his talk of quitting worried the whole family. They held a meeting in their home's living room. Dorothy, always the center of the family, pulled out a notebook where she tracked all of Jeff's auditions and jobs. Lloyd reminded Jeff how acting could use all of his talents at once. Dorothy added that everyone helped each other, and they needed Jeff to keep rowing with them. A few days later, Jeff said yes to a role in The Iceman Cometh, a movie he'd already tried to turn down. The director even visited his art studio to convince him. That small push brought him back to the spotlight. It was the summer of 1975 in Paradise Valley, Montana. Jeff Bridges was 25 and filming a strange little comedy called Rancho Deluxe. One afternoon, he looked up and saw a woman walking through the dining room at the Chico Hot Springs Hotel. She had 2 black eyes and a freshly set nose, but Jeff couldn't stop staring. He kept forgetting his lines. The crew joked about it every time he messed up a take. Between shots, he walked over and asked her to have dinner. She said no. Her name was Susan Jeston, an economics student working there to earn some money. She told him, "No, maybe I'll see you around. This is a tiny town." That moment stuck with him. 3 nights later, they danced together at the wrap party. It was awkward, but sweet. They didn't let go. The next morning, they went looking at ranches by the river. Jeff still carries a photo from that day in his wallet. He says it's like a time machine that takes him back to when he knew he'd found the one. In 1976, Paramount cast him in the King Kong remake as Jack Prescott. The budget was $24 million, which made it the most expensive movie ever made at the time. Over $8 million was spent on promotion. They promised huge bonuses if it made more than $60 million worldwide. No one believed it would, but opening weekend brought in $7,023,992 from 974 theaters, the biggest December opening in history. 10 days later, it had already made over $26 million. By the end, it hit about $90 million. That success came with a price. Jeff was locked into interviews, commercials, and contract talks for almost 2 years. He once joked that the giant monkey didn't just grab a girl, it grabbed his bank account and wouldn't let go. Then came 1977. Susan had been by his side through all the chaos. One day she looked at him and said, "I'm going to have children and put down roots either with you or without you." That hit him hard. It was a Monday. By Wednesday, he was pacing around their Malibu cottage, thinking about whether settling down meant giving up his freedom. He even called his brother Bo in tears. On Thursday, he drove Susan to a windy beach in Zuma. He pulled out a turquoise ring from his jeans and proposed. They got married 5 days later, on June 5, 1977. It was a small wedding in a backyard with her Lutheran pastor. Jeff later said that her words saved him because without them he might have kept drifting until everything fell apart. But he didn't drift. He remembered Paradise Valley and the way it made him feel. The morning after their first dance, he and Susan had toured an old farmhouse near the Yellowstone River. Jeff said a voice told him, "Don't let this place or this woman get away." In 1979, he bought 320 acres outside Livingston. He built a simple cedar cabin with no phone so studios couldn't reach him. In a New York Times profile from 1977, he admitted to skipping auditions to paint and fish. His agent called it career suicide. Jeff even asked for huge fees on purpose, hoping studios would back off. Instead, they kept sending offers. He said that cabin became his way to breathe. When things got too loud in Hollywood, he'd escape to Montana. He'd fix fences, sit by the river, and disappear for weeks. Still, the pull of family was strong. His dad, Lloyd Bridges, had over 150 credits. He once told a reporter he never pressured his sons, but when Jeff started turning down big roles, he called it a waste of talent. That hurt. Jeff said it burned because his dad had always supported him. Trade magazines like Variety said Jeff was right on the edge of stardom if he'd just commit. So Jeff made a deal with himself. He'd take serious roles, but only if he could go back to Montana in between. One of those roles was Cutter's Way in 1981. He said it let him prove to his dad that he cared about acting. Just